They achieved it through tactics and strategies that are kind of like an insurgent set of tactics and strategies, Houthi, North Vietnam, etc. When you look to see how they stay a step ahead of the state at every step of this film, whether the job goes right or the job doesn't go right, but especially here at the end with this whole police thing that's happening here, what is it that's valued? One, mastering technology and using technology to exploit weaknesses and state defenses. You have to use the car because, like the Houthis attacking in the Red Sea right now, or like the North Vietnamese in their tunnels, whatever comparison you want to make, the people that were taking apart the railroads during the 1877 riot, you need to be adaptable, you need to be swift, you need to strike hard, you need to strike fast, and you have to have a mass base. At one key moment when Hobbs comes to arrest all of them, everyone in Brazil opens up their weapons on this tactical team that Hobbs is leading, and Dom's like, fuck you, we're in Brazil, I have a mass base of support, we can hide out among this community, and this community will surface and protect us. We're actually stronger collectively than you are right now. The state doesn't have the resources it needs to fight an entire population. These are insurgent values. And so in the great moments where the team is able to steal cars and use cars, this is what gets back to the idea that the car is a technology of symbolic and actual freedom, but also like a pickup truck that has like an automatic weapon on the back or this firing shoulder-guided missiles. The car is an instrumental technology of resistance. The car, if you can master this technology of whatever race, color, or creed or gender, you can use this technology to exploit weaknesses in the system, weaknesses in the state, and achieve freedom. That's the dream of the film, is that you can learn a skill and you can collectively use your skill to master modernity, to use the technologies of surveillance, like the chips, against the state itself, and that you can outrun the law and outsmart the law because they're reacting to the trap that you've set. And so your family can find freedom by outsmarting the police, outsmarting the state, and using the skills that the state has allowed to kind of reverse engineer what these technologies are supposed to be used for and use them to isolate and then exploit these weaknesses. Those are insurgent values. So even if the film ends up reconstituting tons of normative patriarchal shit, on its way there, it's constantly showing you open doors to cash economies and family economies that don't depend on genetics, that don't depend on blood, that don't depend on inheriting property. These are alternative values that are at a minimum, they're in play. And that is part of the reason why these films, not all of them, but a lot of them, have been so successfully consumed by lots of young people, including in areas and communities of the world where they do lack resources.
Yeah, no, I think that's very well said. Now I'm waiting for like Fast and Furious Hamas edition, because like the idea of like the car. God, the other thing I was thinking about, Justin, is like because I'm thinking about cars a lot right now. I'm doing a class on car history and putting up some episodes in a series I'm calling The History of America in 6 Cars, and you can go check that out. I think the first episode is up right now. And I'd be wondering what everyone thinks about them. And I really want to talk with you more about cars, because what you just said, the idea of cars having some sort of like punk, anti-capitalist kind of ethos that becomes a part of the culture of cars. I was thinking about the movie Repo Man before we started for some reason, because that came out in the 80s. And that's kind of attaches a little bit of what you and I have talked about a lot in terms of like punk music and sort of that Elliott Smith stuff, but it locates it in cars and locates this kind of streak of like rebellion and subversion in cars. And there's irony upon irony of that, because they are sort of like the ultimate object of capitalism in the 20th century is the car. And yet that it contains that sort of insurgent culture that you just described. It's articulated in the Fast Furious films really profoundly and powerfully, honestly. That there's something really key to that, because as we're moving into a future in which, electric vehicles are sort of the question of the future in a lot of ways. It's worth considering how those values might be, I don't know, interrupted or engaged, because the car is also like, I don't know, it's like, I'm also thinking like it's the time machine in Back to the Future. It's like we imagine this vehicle as having a lot of magical powers, and powers to actually. It seems like if there's one theme that like gathers the power of the car, it's that it's a way out in a weird way. Like the car is a way, like Henry Ford selling the Model T to farmers was entirely the stroke of genius of that was like it enlarged their world. It like gave the opportunity to people that had never left a 5-mile radius to see the world. And he literally said that, that was the goal, was to liberate the peasant rural class and give them an opportunity to be individuals in the world. And the fact that he's creating a mega corporation while at the same time sort of like introducing a product into the world that is a machine of individual liberation is a tension that is so key, I think.